What's going on, everybody? So, today we have a very special guest. He played and won in a Triple Tactics Talent Tournament playing on Dragonrider Games. There is a link down below. And yeah, so I believe it was 16 players with a Swiss and then cut to a top four. And he ended up winning the entire thing. So, he's going to talk about his list and I'll let him tell you who he is and how it went. So, I guess take it away.
Yeah, so I'm Christian Thomas, and I won the playset of Triple Tactical Talents, playing Dinosaur. So I guess I will explain why I played this deck first. So to be honest, this tournament started I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, and like John said, it was a Swiss tournament, but it wasn't played in one day. It was played over multiple days. So back then, I still thought Dino was the best choice. Right now, I don't think it is anymore. But back then, I really liked the deck because it has like all around good matchups. The only matchups that is not really good for the deck is Dragon Link. I think especially if you're playing versus a good Dragon Link player, it becomes pretty hard. But I think versus all other matchups like Shadow or Prankits, the deck still has good matchups. So yeah, I'm gonna go right into the deck profile. I think for the Dino engine, it's pretty standard. Like you're playing the three Ovis, triple Misk, double Archo, double Baby Cerosaurus, one Petite, one Pankra, double UCT, and double Pill. Those ratios is pretty much standard. I wouldn't change anything there. It's just the perfect ratios for all the Dino cards. Then for the Searcher, I played triple Fossil Dig. Then I played triple of the new pod. The reason why you play this over Extravagance is because in this deck, I think that pod is better because you rather try to dig for a specific card than try to draw two random cards. Because if you look at the way this deck works, like you pretty much need a combination out of Ovi, Misk, Archo, Baby, Petite, or Fossil Dig. And Lost World also works. But you also have a good amount of cards you don't really want to draw, and those are cards like UCT, Pancreatops, Pill. They're not really combo pieces, and the hand traps also aren't combo pieces. So in this deck, you rather play a pot that gives you that can give you like an Ovi Raptor or a Misk instantly, and you can just directly get the missing piece. Then I played the one Terraforming and three Lost World, which I think is probably one of the best cards in this deck. It helps you play through Droll, it helps you play through Lancia. It can also beat Ash. I think Lost World might be even better than Misk right now. It's also really good against Winder because it makes the Winder 1700 attack, which means your Ovi Raptor can attack over it. Also, since you're giving them a Lost World token, that means they can't use Alistair on the Winder. So Lost World is pretty much the best way to out Shadow Winder in this deck. Then I played the three Mystic Mines, who are also like those are pretty much an auto win against Dinosaur, not against Dino, against Shadow because they're not playing any outs in the main. And it's also still good against most non-Dragon Link decks. I only don't like it against Dragon Link because they're playing the Tining, so they have an in-engine out now. But against all other decks, it's still pretty good. Then I played 3 Dark Ruler, which is like Winder out. It's solid in the mirror going second if they don't know what they're playing against because they will make UCT and Dolka turn 1, so you can just negate both. Then I played 3 Lightning Storm, which is also all around solid, and I played 3 Gamma, which is not only a hand trap, but you can also use it on your turn to protect your miscellaneous from an Ash, for example. Or you can also negate Lancia with it, which is pretty important. And then I played the one driver, and for the 40th card, the Caught by the Grave. Then for the side deck, I played hand traps here because versus Dragon Link, you kind of need them because if you just let Dragon Link make a board, it's pretty hard to beat it, especially post side because they have cards like Lancia in their deck, which they can dig for with the Chaos Ruler. Also, I think trying to beat Dragon Link with hand traps is just more consistent than with the board breakers because even if you kill their board with Dino, you still sometimes struggle against the follow-up play because they're gonna have like a Levian there in hand, and then it's not guaranteed that your Dolka and UCT holds the board again because they will have a lot of follow-up. So I try to prevent that by playing like hand traps. So I played the 3 Lancias, 3 Ash, 3 Nibiru, and 3 Phantasmae. I can side them against Dragon Link, but they're also good against other matchups, obviously. Like I would side Ash and Lancia for the mirror as well, or against decks like Prankets, I would side the Ashes. Against Virtual World, I was also side the Lancia. So you have like a lot of good applications for the hand traps there. And then I played 3 more spell trap removal in the side deck, which is Duster and the double Twin Twister. For the extra deck, it's also standard. Like I played Link Rebo, Secure Gardener, Pentastack, Cypherem Lambda, and then the 3 Nightmares. Played the Access Code, Dugares, and then I played for the rank 4s Dweller, Bakuska, Tornado, Dolka, Lagia, and for the last extra card, the Omega. And yeah, that pretty much was the deck.
So I actually play Dinos and really like it too. And around that same time period, I was in a Pot of Prosperity tournament, and I couldn't agree more when you had said versus like a really good Dragon Link player, because I 2-0'd everybody until I got to the very end, and Gabriel Nets just wiped the floor with me. I ended up sneaking one game in on him, but the other two, it was just insane what that Dragon Link can do and their recursion after, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
like
Gabe is actually a good friend of mine. Like I was also testing with him, and like yeah, he's pretty good at Dragon Link, and that's also the reason why I think it's kind of tough for Dino right now, because Dragon Link is kind of popular, and I don't really like the matchup. But if you're trying to beat anything else, I think Dino is still a good choice.
Yeah.
So it just depends what you expect in your tournament.
If you had to pick a worst card in your main deck, what would it be?
Probably it's Driver.
Okay, that's a fair one.
Yeah.
Easy.
I guess except for Driver, it's kind of hard. I mean, I don't really like drawing UCT, to be honest, but you still have to play 2, of course,
Sure.
for the grind game.
Yeah, it's not something you necessarily want in your hand, but it's a card that you want
exactly.
to see at some point or another.
Yeah.
Is there any reason you went Lancia Nibiru over like playing Droll and one of those?
Yeah, I like Lancia more because I expected some mirror matches, and I think Lancia is definitely better than Joel there, because Joel is kind of weird. Like, if you don't roll them like on the first fossil deck, it can be awkward. Like, for example, if they still get the first Ovi search or the first Archer search. And Lancia also had applications versus Virtual World and versus Tri-Brigade. And I knew that some people in this tournament would play Tri-Brigade, since I played them in other tournaments, so I wanted those decks covered as well. That's why I chose Lancia.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. And what would that... You said Lost World is often better than Miss. Is it the best card in the deck, or would that still be something else?
I mean, probably overall, I guess Misk is still better, but I just think like Lost World is really, really good still, and it's probably an underrated card, because like when people talk about how Dino can be broken, they only mention Misk, but I don't see Lost World really getting mentioned, and I think Lost World is just really good because, like I said, it helps. Like it is the card to beat Joel and Lancia. Otherwise, you don't have much, or you don't have many options to beat those. Especially Lancia, you can't really beat without Lost World at all. It can also beat Ash, and then yeah, going second, it's just really good against the Shadow deck as well. Probably going second against that deck it's probably the best card to have, honestly, because otherwise you can have a tough time in beating Winder. It's not that easy, but with Lost World, you pretty much always beat it. So it's probably my favorite card in the deck, but overall, I guess I would have to say that Misk is still better.
Sure. And I mean, turning off like Gamma and Imperm that sees a little bit more play now is never a bad thing neither. So, but
yeah, for sure, that as well.
But so, do you at like post game one? Do you choose first or second pending your matchup, or do you always try to go second still?
So I usually still go second versus all decks except for Tri-Brigade and Dragon Link. The reason is that versus those decks, it's not that easy to go second. Like against Dragon Link, like I said before, the turn 1 of that deck is pretty strong, and like even with the hand traps, like you have a higher chance of stopping them. But the issue is that the deck can be so resilient against hand traps that they can sometimes still combo through. So I think going second against Dragon Link is just really hard. Like the tiding is a big issue for your deck. And then against Tri-Brigade, there's different lists, of course, but the list I've been playing against a lot in this tournament was the Trap Tri-Brigade list, which is like, so they're playing like Trap Tricks, they're playing Dino Miscus, they're playing Ice Dragon's Prison, and the Harpies card, the one that negates all monster effects. So even if you choose second against them and you can stop that turn with your hand traps, then you sometimes still play against one of the traps, which is just pretty hard to beat. Like for example, in Ice Dragon's Prison already, like just one is pretty tough to beat with this deck, and that is why I also like to choose more against that deck. But against all other matchups, I would choose second post side.
Okay, just one more thing. I know there's a lot of players who just personally don't like the card or play it, and I've seen a lot of people don't know how to out their own Mystic Mine when they're ready to do it. So what's your best way to use your mine and then actually not get hurt by it?
Yeah, so usually with Mystic Mine, you have to know the deck you're mining, of course, because versus Shadow, it is pretty safe to assume that you can deck them out, because I don't remember the last list I have seen that was playing like a Sped Rep removal or like in general out against Mystic Mine. So against this deck, you can just wait. Against other decks, you have to commit at some point, obviously, because they're playing like main deck outs. So usually, if you're playing a deck where you know they're playing main deck outs, you just wait for an OTK. So that means you wait for like a Misk plus a baby or an Obi plus a baby, for example. And then at some point you just draw Lost World, and then you can out your own mine by using Lost World, and then you can try to go for the OTK. Of course, sometimes if you want to make the OTK even safer, you can also wait for a Lightning Storm. If you're playing with a deck that sets back rows, and then you can like set the Lost World first, Lightning Storm their back row, and then try to kill them with your 2-card combo. But it's fair to not play mine as well, to be honest. Like I said, this tournament was like a few weeks ago, so right now I would probably also opt to not play mine in Dino anymore. Probably just the one to search it with terraforming, because like I said, against Shadow it's still an auto win.
I kind of like more now. If you see it, it's nice, but you don't necessarily want to see it earlier versus as opposed to a couple weeks ago for why you would have played 3 copies as opposed to 1.
Yeah, and like you also still have the pot of prosperity to dig for like either the one terraforming or the one Mystic Mine if you still play both. So versus matchups where you really need it, it's not that unlikely to still see it with 3 prosperities, 1 terraforming, and the 1 Mystic Mine itself. You still have a chance of getting it there.
Sure. Well, you were very thorough when you were going through your list and actually answered almost all the questions I had. So thank you for coming on. Congratulations. And possibly get you on if you win another one.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks a lot, man.
No problem.